This is a very old story, from the time of kings and emperors. There was a small troublemaker who was the son of an emperor. He never listened to the emperor, caused a lot of mischief, and the emperor was very angry with him. One day, fed up with his son's mischief, the emperor kicked him out of the palace. The emperor's ministers took him far away. At that time, the emperor's son was only 8 years old. Now, it became very difficult for that child. If the king's son is no longer a king, he won't have any other skills. He started begging at such a young age, and what else could he do? He was just a little child. He slowly continued his journey with time, and after many years passed, he couldn't even remember that he used to be a prince and lived in palaces. Remembering it was painful. It was better to forget about it. Otherwise, he would have to endure constant struggles, beg for a living, and face people's scorn. All of this would have been very difficult for that child if he remembered that he was a prince. Our mind has a wonderful quality. It keeps changing our memories according to life's circumstances. People who are attached to their memories can never progress in life because their memories hold them back. Slowly, a considerable amount of time passed, and the emperor's son had grown up. On the other hand, his father, the emperor, had become old. He was around 75 years old. His son was now close to 50 years old. Fate led to a day when the emperor's son passed by the front of his own palace while wandering. He had no idea. He didn't even remember that this was his own palace, but the old father recognized him through a window. He ran after him with his ministers and courtiers, shouting, "Catch him! He is my son!" The old emperor's anger had subsided in his old age. In youth, there is strength, the power of youth, and terrible anger. But in old age, the blood has cooled, anger towards the son has waned, and he had only one son left. He was the heir to the kingdom, and the father was now old. His days were nearing their end. He had searched extensively for his son but had not found him anywhere. It was a coincidence that he was begging in front of the palace. The emperor, along with his courtiers, rushed behind him, but the beggar was terrified when he saw them. He ran away as fast as he could, faster than he had ever run in his entire life. He thought that something terrible had happened, maybe begging in front of the palace was a grave offense, and they were trying to catch and punish him for it. Who knows if the law here is the same? The poor man saved his life and these people couldn't catch him. The prime minister of the emperor said, "Perhaps, your majesty, he doesn't remember that you are his father and he is your son. He might be thinking that we will punish him, so he ran away. He has no idea. Now, we need to come up with a plan. How can we tell him that he is a prince, the heir to this kingdom?" The emperor began to cry upon hearing this. He said, "Get my son back from anywhere. Ministers, be patient, don't tell him all at once that he is your son. We will try to reveal it to him slowly because it's such a big thing that he might not believe it. Who knows, he might go crazy or be scared, thinking who is behind all this." Ministers slowly started searching for him. A common soldier approached him and said, "The emperor needs someone to clean his place. If you want this job, you can do it." The beggar found this idea appealing. He thought that working was better than begging, but he didn't know how to do cleaning work. He shared this with the soldier, but the soldier reassured him, saying, "No worries, we'll teach you. What's the big deal? Anyone can clean." After that, the beggar started working as a cleaner in the palace. After working for about a month, he was assigned as a gardener in the palace garden. An experienced gardener taught him the ropes, like how to water the plants and how to trim them. Gradually, the beggar began to gain confidence in himself as he continued working. Some dignity and self-respect started to emerge in him. After a few days, he was given the duty of a gatekeeper. Now, sometimes, the emperor would stroll in the garden and smile at him. He felt very pleased. Sometimes, the emperor would pat his back and say, "You're doing a great job." Then, what more could he ask for? He felt elated. 2 months later, he was made the head of the palace treasury. His prestige had grown significantly. Slowly and subtly, they were trying to manipulate him. He became the treasurer of the treasury. The keys to the treasury were now in his possession. He began to hold himself in higher regard. He thought, I must have some abilities, something in me that made me the treasurer of this treasury. Then, one day, he was included in the council of ministers. Now, he was one of the emperor's advisors. He couldn't believe his luck. One day, the prime minister said, I have grown very old now. I want to retire from this position, and according to Hindu tradition, I want to renounce worldly life. And I recommend this capable candidate to become the prime minister in my place. The emperor gave his consent to this proposal. The beggar still couldn't believe how his fate had turned so favorably. He wondered what qualities these people saw in him. Doubts occasionally crept in. He felt that perhaps he possessed some virtue, which is why he was made the prime minister. Now, he had frequent access to the king. He would consult with the king several times a day, and the king would appear before him with great respect. Everyone in the royal palace held him in high regard. One day, the emperor told him, I don't have a son, but I consider you as my own, and I want to make you the heir to my kingdom. I want to write your name in my will. Imagine what the former beggar must have gone through. He used to beg for a few pennies and dry bread, and today, he had the opportunity to become the emperor. Then, one day, the emperor said to him, Now the time has come, I am tired, and I too want to immerse myself in spirituality. Now, you take charge of the kingdom. From that day on, the beggar became the emperor of the realm. One day, the former emperor called him and said, Now, I will tell you the truth. In reality, you are my own son. You are the rightful heir to this throne. But we couldn't say this all of a sudden, you couldn't digest this fact instantly. That's why it took about 1.5 years. We could have said this on the first day, but you ran away as if we were going to punish you. That day, we chased after you to call you back for the coronation. The man said I had completely forgotten everything. I didn't remember anything. Today, as you are saying, some faint memories come back. Looking at the walls of the palace, looking at the windows and doors, it feels like I've seen them before. Not clearly, but vague memories come back. When the man became emperor, ascended the throne. Even after that, he used to have dreams sometimes. He used to beg in his dreams. In his dreams, for a long time, maybe 4 or 5 decades. He lived his life in the same way. By day, he became an emperor, and by night, he turned into a beggar in his dreams. Terrifying dreams came, where he begged anywhere, and someone pushed him away, insulted him, called him sick, and also there was no money for his medical treatment. It's raining, and there's no shelter to hide. Days of great suffering came back to him in his dreams. By day, he became an emperor. His conscious mind accepted it. I am the emperor, and that too, after several years of gradual acceptance. Otherwise, convincing that the conscious mind was difficult, but the unconscious mind was of the past 50 years. How do you convince it, which had etched lines and deep imprints? Seeing the condition of his son, the elderly father made an arrangement, called a sage, and told him what the problem was. He told him that during the day, he behaved like an emperor, but in his dreams, he became a beggar again. He had painful dreams all night. The story of his life was divided into 2 parts. The sage said that some hypnotic practices needed to be done on him. He would have to implant in his subconscious mind the idea that he is an emperor. His subconscious mind still believed that he was a beggar. The sage experimented on him for about 3 months. Every day, he would guide him into a state of yogic sleep and suggest to him that he is an emperor and that he should feel like one. I am an emperor. He would repeat this affirmation at night while falling asleep, Gradually, this idea took root within him, and the belief in being an emperor became stronger than the belief in being a beggar. It took a couple of months, but eventually, his old dreams of being a beggar faded away. The story may sound strange to hear, but it is our story. We are all embodiments of the divine. Our souls are the very essence of God, but we have forgotten this truth. Due to the long-lasting forgetfulness, an ordinary person begins to understand themselves. If someone tells you today that you are the divine, it may be difficult to accept. You might laugh it off or take it as a joke. This is because our subconscious mind has started to perceive us as ordinary human beings. However, our conscious mind knows that the divine resides in every particle. Every soul is a manifestation of the divine, yet when someone tells us that we are the divine, we find it amusing. Why? Because our conscious mind cannot accept it. If we enter the state of yogic sleep and use that practice, we can reconnect with our true nature, our inner divinity. It is within us, waiting to be realized. In the conscious mind, we can establish any belief or desire that we want in our lives, whether it's happiness, joy, wealth, success, or any achievement. If we use yogic sleep and practice this technique, any task or success can be easily attained. When we go to bed and are in the initial stages of sleep, our minds can be easily influenced. At that time, if we repeat the mantra in our minds that what I want to achieve, I will achieve it, and we continue this repetition in that suggestible state of mind, then after a few weeks of practice, our life can change drastically. Do try this technique, and if you want to learn more about the subconscious mind, please leave comments in the comments section. If you wish, we will continue to make videos on subconscious mind practices. How did you like this story? Please let us know in the comments section, and if you found it interesting, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. We keep bringing such informative stories for you. Until next time, take care and stay blissful.